for organizing this, and also congratulations to all the winners, and I am wishing you all the best in your future endeavors. As Ina already said, I am working at Consular Section as a visa assistant since 2014. And I will start the presentation. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment or write in the chat box, and we will be happy, either one of us, to answer them. As already Ina said, today's presentation is about student visas. The visas that can be obtained when you apply at the US Embassy here in Yerevan, Armenia. The topics that we'll cover in this presentation is overview of visa application process. We will talk about the general process of applying for a visa, as well as statistics and updates, and resources and contacting us. Next slide, please. This is the general picture of how visas look like. I'm sure many of you have seen it and have obtained it. It includes your picture, your biodata, your name, surname, passport number, gender, as well as visa type, the category of the visa you applied for. Besides that, there is an annotation field that you may see here. We annotate based on the student visa annotation. Some student visas require annotations, some don't. Mainly J visa category visas, J1 visa category visas require an annotation. So most of you, if you have ever obtained the J1 category, you have seen an annotation. Also, we limit the visa. J1s are limited based on the expiration date of their study program, whereas F and M visa categories are not limited. They're based on our reciprocity. Next slide, please. As I already mentioned, when if you want to go to United States and to study there, you have to obtain a visa. In this case, you have to apply for a student visa. You must have your course of study and the type of school you plan to attend to determine whether you need an F visa or an M visa. Generally, F visas are a university or college, high schools, private elementary schools, seminaries, conservatories, and other academic institutions, including language trainings. What refers to M type of visas, these are vocational and other recognized non-academic institutions. And for J visas, this is the exchange visitor visas, which are also considered to be a non-immigrant visa category for individuals approved to participate in exchange visitor programs. This category includes, as we all know, summer work and travel, government visitors, scholars, professors, physicians, teachers, trainees, short-term scholars, other specialists, interns, and I'm sure many of you have heard about au pair. This is also considered to be a J1 category visa. All visa categories are solely decided and approved by the university. So you can't choose either of this category because a university defines the visa category.
Okay, so thank you very much, Gohar, for giving us a sense of what the student visa can be, the different types. And again, congratulations to all of you for getting to this point in the process. It's a really exciting time. I know it's also a very uncertain time. So we appreciate your patience, your being here with us today, and really just congratulations. And I know the visa process can be a little bit confusing and overwhelming. So I hope this kind of helps break it down a bit. The visa process is consistent worldwide. So it's, it's something that is done around the world, although especially right now, given the differences in COVID-19 around the world, we're all kind of figuring the scheduling out as we go, but generally this is something that is done worldwide, and usually you can get your student visa up to 120 days before your program start date listed on your I-20. I'm sure all of you are already familiar with an I-20. It's the document that you will need before your interview that's issued by the school, really defines your course of study. It's a pretty important piece of paperwork, so I'm sure you're all very familiar with it, but under kind of normal circumstances in the application process for student visas, you can go to apply and potentially be issued your student visa up to 120 days before that program start date that's listed on that I-20. For J1 exchange visitors, which Gohar gave you all a really good sense of what types of programs fall under the J1 visa, you'll be issued a different document called a DS 2019. And for J1 exchange visitors, you can go ahead and be issued that visa as soon as you obtain the DS 2019. And for those of you that are either looking at those programs or maybe interested in them in the future, really important to have those documents on your person at all times, both at the interview, on the plane, at the port of entry. Piece of paper that's very important for your education, very important for your visa, and you don't want to lose it. You always want to have it. So want to give you guys a sense of what you should do to prepare before the interview, hopefully make it a little less confusing, a little less intimidating. So you do need to complete the regular DS-160 visa application. You will pay your application fee, and you go ahead and schedule your interview. I know there are likely some questions about the current process and kind of where things stand. So we'll get to that a little bit later in the presentation, but trying to walk everyone through and give everyone a sense of the general steps that you take. Pretty important to pay your SEVIS fee. The website here where you can do that is listed on the presentation, but do make sure you pay your SEVIS fee. It's pretty important to have done before your interview. And make sure your passport is up to date. So you want it to be valid for at least 6 months after your planned arrival in the United States. And if it's not going to be valid for that period of time, you're going to want to renew it, hopefully before the interview. And again, this is the process under normal circumstances. I know in Armenia, like in many other places, there are delays and changes due to COVID-19. I'm not sure if that's changed the passport application process in Armenia, but something to think about and really plan ahead for. So just to give you all a sense of your required documents, you will of course need a passport. We've discussed the validity date of that passport. You will need a passport photo. I think most of you are probably familiar with what a passport photo is. If you want exact information and instructions, travel.state.gov has a whole page on passport photo requirements, but generally speaking, it needs to be a recent photo, not one of you a few years ago. Should probably, look like you currently look at present. And it should be you centered against a white background 5 by 5 centimeters. But again, if you want more details on the specifics, if you're concerned, plenty of places around town do this, and you can look for the exact specs for that photo on travel.state.gov. Also for the interview, you will need to bring your DS-160 confirmation page. That's the confirmation page that you will get online once you fill out your DS-160 and pay your fee. And of course, probably some of the more important documents here, the I-20, which we already discussed, is for those students pursuing an F visa course of study or an M visa course of study, and your DS 2019 if you are pursuing a J visa, potentially in an exchange program. If you also can print the receipts for your visa application and your SEVIS fee, having that all will really make the process easier. It just ensures you come prepared. And I think most of you, you've worked hard to get into a university overseas. I imagine you are the type of people that come prepared to everything. So we're probably going over things you already know and potentially have already done, but just to to make sure that you know what you need to have with you to show up prepared for the interview, to make the process as smooth as possible.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ben. I'm a consular officer at the embassy, and I have been working at the embassy in Yerevan and performing these visa interviews since 2018. So I want to talk to you a little bit today about what actually happens when you come into the embassy for an interview. So this, for you, might be the scariest part, but hopefully after this whole process. But hopefully after this, you'll have a little bit more information about what we're looking for. And as Ellen mentioned before, this is under normal circumstances. So we'll talk a little bit later about what actually needs to be done to schedule a visa interview. But this is what's going to happen when you get there. So what are we looking for? So we want to make sure we know who you are. And what that means, of course, is that who we see at the visa window is the same person who's applied to the university. And we want to make sure that everything just makes sense, that we're looking at your transcripts, we're looking at your resume, you're speaking to us about your background, and it all adds up, that you are the student that has been accepted to the university, and that you're going to go and do all the great things that you plan to do. So what you want to do, we want to know what you want to do. Why are you studying the field that you've selected? Why did you choose the university that you want to go to? When you get to the university, what are your plans? And even though you don't know them today, at this point in time, what do you intend to do after you finish your program? This third point is quite important as well. How are you going to fund the program? So there are lots of opportunities for funding, and I'm sure many of you have already looked into this. There are scholarships that are offered by universities. There are scholarships that are available to you in Armenia as Armenians. There's personal funding. What's important about all this is the funding that you have been approved for, the funding that you have, if it is official funding, if it comes from the university or it comes from the scholarship foundation, then that needs to be included in your I-20. So that means that you have to have worked out all of the details of this funding in advance to the best of your ability. What we aren't able to do is, if you have not had any approved funding before the interview, but you come to the interview and you say, my uncle has a bunch of money in a bank account and he's going to lend me this money, but I don't have any documentation for it. That could be a problem. So, whatever documents you have for how you're going to fund your program, please bring them, and also make sure that you do the best you can to get all this information on your I-20. And then finally, we want to know what you want to do when you finish your program. Next slide. Okay, so the best possible outcome for you is that you're approved. We hope that we can get you off to the university that's already accepted you. But that isn't the only possible outcome. So I'm not going to get into the specifics of each one of these immigration codes and visa refusals, 214B, 221G, 212A. Here's what's important to know. When you come to the interview, if you're approved, we're going to hold your passport, and in about a week, we are going to print your visa and send it to you, and you'll be ready to go. If you're not approved, really there are two possibilities, two potential outcomes if you're not approved. One is that we just need more information. And that could be all sorts of documents. We might need your TOEFL score, we might need a new resume, we might need financial documents, or we just might need to do some more review. We might need to talk to Washington, D.C. about some things. And we might give you a 221G. We might basically tell you, hey, can you provide this information to us? And then we will adjudicate your case. And there's no problem with that. It just means it might take a little bit longer, but we can usually move that pretty quickly. If you have to give us documents, we'll tell you what you need to provide to us. And then the other outcome is a refusal. And if you are refused the visa, there's no more documents under this application that you can provide to us. We will tell you that you've just been refused for whatever reason it happens to be. However, under most refusals, you do have the option to apply again, and you can choose to do so if you're refused. So this administrative processing is that process that I just explained, which basically requires more information. Usually that information is on you, so the faster you can get the required documentation or information to us, the better chance you have at it moving quickly. And if it's on us, then we will move as quickly as we can. Given COVID-19, everything is moving more slowly here and in Washington, but we'll do everything we can to get you to your program on time. Okay, visa myths. There's a right and wrong answer at interviews. That is false. We love hearing your story, and everybody is unique, and you all come from different places, and you shouldn't be scared about being honest. I've stated this at presentations before. You might have the uncle of a cousin who you know years ago went to the U.S. and never came back, but you don't know him, so you know it's okay to share that information. We're not going to hold you accountable for things that other people have done. Don't be afraid of that. And you know, some of you might have a full scholarship to an Ivy League university. That's great. And some of you might have no scholarship to a state school or a community college, and that's great too. That really doesn't have a huge effect on your qualification for getting a visa. But if you aren't able to provide your story, or you can't, you know, it doesn't seem like you're being honest about what your plans are in the United States, then it's hard for us to issue a visa for the intended purpose. Okay, and that goes into number 2. You can get a visa to attend any size university. True. Pretty much most universities you can find online, you are able to get a visa to attend. There was some information, some back and forth that you might have seen in the news about online courses of study versus in-person courses of study. At the end of the day, it looks like you're probably going to be okay either way, but we'll talk more about that given the current circumstances. But it is important to note that that the university you select and the funding you have and the ability you have to pay for that schooling and your ability to live in the country for the course of study is important. So it doesn't matter the size of the university, but it needs to make sense that you can successfully graduate from that university. Okay, you are all smart people, so you know that if you use a visa fixer, that's probably not a great idea. These people exist. They might be official little companies that promise that if you come and work with them, they're going to give you all the secrets to getting a visa at the U.S. Embassy. Or they just might be a friend of a family member who got a visa 15 years ago, and now they're seen as is the know-all for how to get a visa to the United States. We recommend not talking to those people or not listening to them. Again, you are smart. You have gotten accepted to a U.S. university. All you need to do is come and be honest, and that is your best chance of getting a visa. And absolutely, international students welcome in the United States. Many of our universities have huge international student populations, and they're really excited to get international students, particularly students from a country like Armenia, where sometimes you might be the only or one of very few folks from your country, and universities love that. Okay.
All right, and I want to echo one of the points that Ben made about just coming to your interview with honesty and ready to kind of share your plans and your story. That's one of the fun parts of our job. I mean, you guys are talented young people. You've studied interesting things. You're going to do interesting things. And it's a lot of fun for us to hear why you want to study in the United States and what you want to do with that degree or that knowledge that you're going to gain and what you've done before that. So really, you know, feel free and come prepared to share what it is you're excited about and interested in and how that relates to your intention to pursue that course of study in the United States. It's something for you guys to be proud of, and it's something that is really enjoyable and interesting for us to learn about during the conversation. So underscoring that point about honesty, and thanks to Ben for making it. I realize we've just given you a lot of information about the normal processes for kind of preparing for, applying for, and going to your interview for a student visa. But we're not living in a particularly normal year or normal times. So what we're going to try to do here is give you guys a little bit of information on where we are, essentially, with respect to COVID-19, and give you just some resources for you for information to figure out next steps, and to hopefully help you make sense of what I can imagine is a bit of an uncertain and difficult time. So I'm sure many of you are aware, currently the U.S. Embassy in Yerevan is not able to process routine appointments. We will and do intend to resume routine services, but we can't do that until local conditions allow. That requires sustained improvement in local conditions over an extended period of time. And again, I can't really give a sense of when that might be, which I realize is probably not the most helpful for those of you that are looking at a fall course of study, or who really are hoping for some more concrete information in a really uncertain time. But that's where we are. We want to be honest with you guys about that. But the good news is that students will be prioritized when the embassy is able to resume routine visa operations. So that's kind of where things stand with respect to our operations at present. And want to give you a sense of what you can do about that, because again, that's a lot of uncertainty for all of you to deal with. So the kind of first step would be to request an expedited appointment. You can do that through the online scheduling process, and then the embassy will schedule your appointment when it's able to process students. That's an option just to ensure that once we're able to process student visa appointments, your appointment is in that expedite list, and that we can get to you as quickly as possible. So that's one option for you all if you have not done so. Another option, and I think especially during these difficult and uncertain times, just a good rule of thumb is just to be in communication with your school and weigh what your options are with your course of study. And that's something I won't go into too much detail about, because that really depends on your course of study, your personal life circumstances, what your school is allowing and not allowing and doing for students. But whether that's talking through whether or not deferral is an option for you, whether or not your school might accept late arrivals. And just a point on that, if your school does allow late arrivals, you will need to get an updated I-20 that specifies that, just an important item to note if that's one of the options you do end up discussing with your school. And then talking through how the school plans to deliver their classes and what that means for when you are actually able to get an interview and when you might actually be able to get a flight. So again, you know, these are questions that you all can be working through with the school you've been admitted to, with your program, to really see what flexibility you have and what options you have. So you really, it's a situation in which you're going to have to use some of your own resources to kind of figure out the situation. So what I can say is essentially that once we are able to resume routine visa services, we will prioritize students, but in the meantime, just an encouragement to reach out to your school, weigh your options, and we will provide a couple of other resources for you all to reach out to be aware of, be cognizant of as you try to kind of make your plan for your studies.
And resources. There are a lot of resources where you can find information, make an appointment, as well as pay your service fee. The Department of State, the Travel State Gov, this is the main State of Department website where you can find general information about visas, categories, as well as traveling, COVID-19 restrictions, and other important facts that you want to check out before going to United States. Education USA State Gov, this is the another US State Department network where you can find information about, where it is basically made for international students, where they can find information about higher education, as well as studying in US opportunities. Besides, they can find information about financial aid and events, events such as pre-departure orientations, cultural, international clubs, and some summer school programs that have been posted in this website. SIAC State Gov, this is the website where you can complete your application, your DS-160 form. You have to complete before scheduling an appointment or applying for a US visa. Department of Homeland Security, studying US State DHS.gov. This is the website that gives you general information about entering the country, the documents you need to present to the DHS employees, as well as general information for students. And immigrant and customs enforcement student and exchange visitor programs. This is where, this is mainly refers to F1 and M1, F and M student visa holders. After their program gets approved, they have to go to this website and make a service program payment. This service payment is called I-901 fee, and once they make the payment, they're officially registered as a student of exchange visitor program, and they present this payment receipt during the interview when they attend the interview in Consular Section. And I missed J1 visa holders. Sorry, Elenjan. The State Gov, this is the general information, the basic information that you can get for J1 visa holders, the program requirements, how to apply, the participants, as well as program sponsors. As I already mentioned, exchange student programs and au pair visa holders, they can also obtain information from here regarding their host families and employees. Next slide. And if you have any questions, you are always welcome to write us an email, and we generally respond to all the emails within 5 business days. Our email is consular@state.gov. If you have if you want to check something from our website, you can go to our website here in Armenia and check information regarding the appointments, as well as we have a step-by-step guide where it guides through the whole procedure that you have to do before coming to the appointment. And for expedite request, I'm not sure, but many of you may already know that as of 16th of March, US Embassy here in Yerevan has suspended visa appointments. But this doesn't mean that you can't request an appointment. Once you schedule your appointment, the system will allow you to request an expedite. And for this request, you have to write the justification. Why are you requesting an expedited appointment? This will be reviewed by Consular Section, and once it gets approved, you will receive an appointment date to attend your interview.
Okay, thanks for this invaluable information. I believe it is very important for many of our students. And actually, I received one question we received. So this comes from Norris. Norris, if you'd like, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Otherwise, I will read it for you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for this resourceful webinar session. So my question is regarding remote learning. I want to ask, do we have to have student visas in order to study remotely in our universities, or we can just apply for visas later?
Just to clarify quickly the question, you're asking if you are accepted into a university course of study in the US, they've decided for the time being they will be doing things remotely, and whether or not you can stay here in Armenia, say do the semester or the year remotely, and then later apply for that student visa. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the question.
Okay. So, as kind of gone over in the piece about the documents you'll need for your visa interview, if you choose to pursue the beginning of your course of study, whether that's a semester or a year remotely in Armenia, you wouldn't need a student visa because the visa grants you the permission to enter the United States. So you could continue in your course of study at the university while physically being located here in Armenia, without applying for a student visa. If your university then, say at the semester point, or perhaps for the following school year, went to in-person classes and you wanted to, of course, attend and have that part of the university experience, which is so important, then you would simply just need to make sure you've collected the documentation for the interview and likely explain the situation at the interview. But if you choose to do part of your studies remotely here in Armenia, you would not need at that time to apply for the student visa, because you would not be physically entering the United States and thus wouldn't need the visa as permission to do so. But I'll let Ben and Gohar add anything if I missed something.
Okay, thank you. You definitely answered my question very clearly. All my questions have been answered. Thank you.
Ellen fully covered everything. Just want to add that usually universities, if you received your service and your I-20, it is mentioned. Some have face-to-face, some have half online, and some have full online. In case of full online, you may have your semester at home here in Armenia or wherever you are. Once they acquire or require students' attendance for face-to-face or half online or half going to the institution, thus you have to apply. It depends on the school. You have to check once again with the school.
Oh,
because
okay.
sometimes they have online and sometimes they have they need some attendance. So you have to check with them. Is it fully online or they will require some attendance?
Well, I mean, my university doesn't really require attendance, especially with the new SEVP guide. Newly admitted students aren't really allowed to go if we're going to have remote classes. And 99% of my classes available to choose from are online. Basically, my full year will be online for this particular academic year. So I really wanted to study in Armenia for the first year and then apply for the visa and then go on to the United States for in-person learning.
Yeah, and I'll just add on everything. I agree with everything that Alan and Gohar said. So for all of you, I think two important things to keep in mind in addition to that. You have to be careful about your funding. Certain types of scholarships might be contingent on using that funding in those resources in the United States. Hopefully they aren't. Hopefully you can study from anywhere and they pay the tuition. But definitely double check your funding source to make sure that you'll still be covered if you aren't physically in the United States. And the second thing is that when it does come time to apply for your visa, let's say it's next year, that you get your updated I-20 from the university. So definitely just having current and regular communication with your international office at your university makes the most sense.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Okay, Margarita, go on.
Thank you so much. As you know, I have been admitted to the LLM program, and the duration of LLM program is 1 year. And today my university announced that the fall semester will be online. I understand that right now I cannot enter the US territory, but let's imagine if the borders open, can I enter the US territory? And I mean, can I take online classes from America if the borders open? That's all.
Helen, do you have the most current guidance on fully online programs? I
So
think it's still changing.
So it's still changing. This is a difficult question to answer because there was guidance that was issued. I think it sounds like most of you were aware of this. It was widely reported in press and media that there would be a change whereby if a student was pursuing a full course of study completely online, they would not be allowed to enter the United States for that. That guidance was rescinded. That was also widely publicly reported. So as of right now, as things stand at this moment that we talk to you, that particular requirement or guidance that had come out has been rescinded. I think a good rule of thumb here as things are changing quickly, just with respect to the situation with COVID in the United States, and as you mentioned, your university and a lot of universities are still making decisions as to how they're going to handle their fall 2020 semesters, that you be in contact with your university about that and with the Immigration and Customs Enforcement and their international programs office. Essentially, they are going to determine who can be allowed into the United States. And at this moment, what we can tell you is that that rule, which barred students from entering if they were taking their full course of study online, has been rescinded. But again, this would be something that you really need to be watching for as things during COVID kind of continue to evolve. Be in touch with your university about, and really, I think also a good thing to contact, say, CBP and ICE about, as they're the ones that will actually make decisions at the port of entry. And we as adjudicating consular officers here in Armenia do not have the authority to do.
Okay, thank you so much.
And also one recommendation from me as Education USA advisor, you also can keep in contact with the university and ask them to defer your study. They should do it taking into consideration all these challenges. So you can defer your study and start it from the fall 2021, if this is, the, I don't know, more convenient and preferable choice for you.
And I'll add one more thing on top of what Ellen said. Just generally, you know, it appears that the rate of cases of COVID-19 are improving in Armenia. It's not really the case in the United States, and secondary schools, primary schools, and universities, state to state, are in the middle of making these decisions. And, you know, we expect a lot of schools and universities to be fully online through the fall. You can kind of, if your university hasn't provided that information yet, that's where it looks like most are going, unfortunately.
Okay, then we have another question. This is, I guess, about general student visa. So one of our attendees asked if I have a tourist visa and then I obtain a student visa, can I stay in the USA with my tourist visa after the graduation of the university? So you heard the question, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
You can certainly have both of those visas simultaneously. What I would say is it matters which visa you enter the United States on. So if you enter the United States on your student visa, if that's what you show at the border when you come in to pursue your course of study, you are then, for all intents and purposes, on your student status and can stay in the US as long as your student status allows. In terms of, say, your course of study and your student status ending and wanting to then sort of transition, so to speak, or to use that, that tourist visa, I believe you would have two options, and Ben and Gohar can correct me if I'm wrong here, but one would be to exit the United States and return on your tourist visa, as you would then be visiting the United States under tourist visa status and all of the rules would apply. Or you could petition for a change of status, but I think I think the best practice there would be you would need to leave the United States on your student visa and then re-enter as a tourist.
Okay, thank you. Anything to add? Nothing. Okay, guys, do I have any other questions?
Yes, I have one more question, Ina.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask?
Yeah, you can ask. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks. I have enrolled in LM program as well in Los Angeles, but now I have decided to defer it to the upcoming this upcoming year, and my concern is about the procedure I have already passed through, and I was just wondering, do I have to pass again through all these procedures for next year if I choose to defer my study plan to 2021? And one more question concerning to some rumors I've heard about OPT and CPT that they are going to stop that options. Is it right or not? Thanks.
Can you clarify your first question?
This is what I want to ask. What procedure you mean when you told that?
I mean that I have received my I-20. I have filled a lot of forms concerning my health history, all the documents that my university required, and all the other forms they sent to me, and I have submitted to the embassy of Armenia, of America in Armenia. Yes, that was the question actually.
as far as the forms that you've submitted to your university, that will be a decision of the university. My guess is you'll need to resubmit a bunch of stuff next year, but you have to talk to them. And then for the embassy, you just want to bring up-to-date forms at the time that you schedule your visa interview. So that will be, current resume and your up-to-date I-20, because that's going to change next year. You can't hold on to the current one that you have if you're going to apply in a different semester.
Actually, the embassy said that my interview will be valid during 1 year, and I can reschedule my interview appointment. But if I choose to make my appointment, for example, during summer 2021, will they need any, I don't know, further information, or, for example, financial statements again, or I don't know, a lot of stuff?
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. So you hopefully should be able to pretty easily reschedule your interview next year. As far as documents that you may have provided, what's most important is what you bring with you to the interview. So I'm sure many of the documents you have, if your finances haven't changed, will be the same documents now that you bring next year. So hold on to those. When documents have changed, like your I-20, yeah, you need to bring your up-to-date one. But from the embassy's perspective, there's really not much, that would need to change, whether you interview now or next year.
And just to add one thing, your interview, your payment is valid within a year from the day of your payment. So make sure to check the payment date, because after a year, you won't be able to reschedule it. Due to current procedure, there are no refunds. And if you lose it, then you lose it. So once again, check it and then reschedule it before the expiration date of your payment.
Okay, thanks.
And to your question on CPT and rumors, unfortunately, I think we can't really comment on rumors. I know it's an uncertain time and there are a lot of questions out there. What we can tell you is what we know now, which is there have been no changes made, but can't really comment beyond that, unfortunately.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Okay, the good news is that nothing decides yet, so we still have hopes that everything will change and we'll see a better picture and better results. So just let's hope. Do you have any other questions? Do we have? If so, then you can either unmute your microphone or I don't know, write questions. If no, then I really want all of you who can turn on your camera. I ask you to turn your camera, and I really want to all of us has group photo as far as we can during this very challenging and unexpected period, just to have, I don't know, this is something that we really can do it. I know that this is very difficult to organize something when there are a lot of uncertainties and there is no particular answer to the questions. So again, I want to say thank you to our consular section representatives, to embassy staff for being with us during these hard periods. Thanks for everything. Thanks for your cooperation. And if you don't mind, I want us to have a group photo and perhaps, okay, fine.
Excuse me, Ina, can I have something?
Of course, this is absolutely fine. This is the site of our today's life. So,
yeah. Well,
smile,
yeah,
and we'll have a photo.
Yeah. So as you know, I missed, due to technical problems, I missed the beginning of the call. Is it possible after the call I call you to, so that you can brief me? Because I really don't want to waste anyone's time, but I didn't capture anything, unfortunately.
Okay, yes.
This
report, this session is recording, and I hope our Consular Section representatives agree me to share the recording with those who couldn't participate, because we have a lot of calls that people called me and just tell me that it is difficult for them to, I don't know, to join, taking the time that they are working, some technical problems and stuff like this. So if you don't mind, guys, I will share this recording with those who missed, just for them to have more information, okay? So Carnage, and I will send you the recording after the meeting.
Thank
you. Ina asked me, hi everybody, this is Dagan. Ina asked me to take the picture, just that way, so I'll do a quick screenshot. So everybody looks beautiful, you look amazing, so you're totally ready. So I'm gonna count down 3, 2, 1, and then take a picture, all right? So 1, 2, 3, that was it. Cool.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for posing so beautiful. I gotta go, but nice talking to you. Thank you so much, our consular section here at the U.S. Embassy in Armenia. Thank you very much, Ina, and congratulations, everybody. I gotta go, but thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks for being with us, Dagan.
Bye.
So, and perhaps this is it. If you have something to add, consular section representatives or students, we will be happy if you have any questions to ask them also. If no, then we'll perhaps wrap up this meeting.
This is, yeah, just one more thing. Huge congratulations to all of you guys. Really, this is unprecedented times, not just for you in Armenia, but everyone in the world. So if it's going to be a struggle, it's going to take a little bit of time to eventually get you to the U.S., but you get there, and have a good experience when you do. Good luck.
Good luck to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
This really is a difficult time.
Good luck, and we'll all remember these times, this period. This is something unforgettable for all of us. So you need to just keep up and do everything to make your desire come true. Okay, again, thanks for being with us. Have a good evening ahead, and happy Friday and good weekend to all of you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Goodbye. Thanks again.